for those of us that are here live, we are going over part 1 of a 4-part series. And today is going to be all about the fundamental basics of just solving proportions. So learning how to solve a proportion every which possible way that we can. We're going to explore every type of method. That way you can pick the best method for you and then build it up and be as perfect as you can be. And it's honestly a perfection, absolutely possible here, because it's really just a lot of, okay, understanding the method and then practice. But we have to make sure we understand things first. So I'm going to split today into 3 main, events. So 3 main events that we're going to go through. Number 1, we're going to review how to simplify fractions. So everybody quickly in the chat box, yes or no, when I say simplifying fractions, is that something that you are confident about or know very well? Yes or no? A simple yes or a no. When it comes to simplifying fractions, is that something that you feel like you know confidently? Okay, and thank you guys for being honest. And this is actually kind of like a 50-50 pretty much so far. It seems like a lot of people there are split right down the middle, a lot of yeses and nos. So it's going to be a good eye-opening class in terms of refreshing or reviewing or just learning from scratch how to simplify fractions. Now, here's the thing. Notice that this is first, and it's not first because it's the least important. It is first because it's the most important. If you learn how to simplify fractions, or if you have a good confident hold on it, I guarantee you that you will go into solving proportions like an absolute animal. Okay, I promise you that. Absolutely promise you. So with that, number 1, we're going to be learning how to simplify fractions. Number 2, we're going to be looking at this idea of, well, what a proportion actually is. Because a lot of people here, they seem to think, and you tell me if this sounds like you, a lot of people seem to think that when we say proportions, we're supposed to think cross, multiply, and divide. Does that sound familiar? Does that sound like your situation right now? Like when you think proportions, the only thing that comes up is cross, multiply, and divide. And that's the problem, okay? That is a very, very, very big problem, because the thing is, proportions is not a process. It's an idea. It's relating to different values. That's what a proportion is. It's the relationship between the size or a measurement of 2 different things. And we're going to get into that in a bit, so don't worry about all that. But we need to understand proportions as more than just a process or an equation, but as an actual idea. And this is true for all other types of math. So if we were talking about, distance, rate, time, it's not just knowing that D equals RT. It's about knowing how to identify each piece of the formula. And, every single math idea has something that you can hang on to. So with that said, my party people, once we learn how to simplify fractions, once we get into the idea of what a proportion is, well, that's when we're going to have fun. We're going to be learning the fastest and most confident ways to solve proportions through and through, up and down today's class. That's what's going to happen. But we have to make sure we have the simplifying fractions down and we know what a proportion is. Once we have those 2 things down, game over. We are good. So we're going to have a great time with that. All right. Booyah. And like I said, today's part 1 of 4. Here's what's coming in parts 2, 3, and 4. Parts 2 and 3, we're going to be doing proportion word problems, and we're going to have 2 full classes on this. Okay. We're going to have 2 full classes with a lot of drill sets, a lot of time practice. So that way you can build your confidence up. And then lastly, to cap it all off, we're going to have an advanced proportion word problems class. And this is also going to include drill sets for everything we've done before. So kind of like a cumulative unit review where we review everything all at once. And hopefully that's going to be a lot of fun for us. But with that said, does everybody understand? Today's part 1 out of 4. And today we are focusing solely on solving proportions. Hit me with a yes or a no if you got it. Cool. And thanks for the participation, guys. I appreciate that. So let's go and get into it here. Number 1. So first things first, we need to just, in a general sense, I want to just introduce proportions in just a flat general sense. We're going to dive straight into simplifying fractions right after this. But here's the basic idea that I want you to remember, not just for today's class, but for tomorrow's, next Mondays, and next Tuesdays. So Whenever you think proportions, I don't want you to think cross, multiply, and divide. From now moving forward, anytime I ask you, when you think proportions, you think what? I want you to reply with this. Compare the same things in the same way. That's what I want you to think about. So for the people in my program, does that seem familiar to you? Great. And for the people, again, in my program who have heard me say this before, true or false, or give me your opinion, has thinking about proportions in this way helped you as you've practiced? You tell me. You tell everybody in this class. I'm not going to tell everybody. I'll let you guys say it. If you're on a laptop, you'll see the chat box there. If you're on your phone, you'll see it up there. Everybody's saying yes. Okay, look, I want to make sure that you don't see math ideas as just formulas. I want you to see math ideas as ideas. So that's why we need to start here. Compare the same things in the same way. Just remember that right there. Just remember that. And we're going to come back to this in a few minutes, okay? Just write this down. This is all I care about. That's all I care about. Don't worry about anything else. When everybody's ready to go, say ready. Because we're going to dive straight into simplifying fractions, and this is going to be a lot of fun. No worries, Shirley. We'll give it a couple more moments. Again, all we need to write down is compare the same things in the same way. That's all we care about. All right, perfect. So with that said, let's take on to this next slide. So in the previous example, right here, you're going to see that it says there are 3 red marbles for every 6, 12 to every 24. Never mind the setup. I'm just going to go ahead and do something very quick and just introduce fractions again and show you how to simplify them before we come back to the whole story of this. So here's one thing that I would like to do. I'm going to give this blank page. I did this on purpose here. We're going to have this blank page and we're going to explore, again, the idea of simplifying proportions. So first things first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and write this out over here. I'm going to write out, let's say 3 over 6, exactly what we saw earlier. Okay. So the idea of simplifying fractions, just as a refresher for everybody, the idea of simplifying fractions is this. It's simply to simplify the way the number looks. Again, it's in the name. Simplifying fractions. All that means is we are simplifying the fraction, simplifying the way it looks. So it's easier to talk about. It's easier to understand in your head, because at the end of the day, let me go ahead and show you something, my party people. If I went ahead and drew this box, right? And I went ahead and said, hey, let me go ahead and cut this into a couple of pieces here. Go ahead and do that there. Perfect. And I'll do this. And then that right there. Okay, cool. So there we go. Got 6 total pieces. Let's go ahead and assume that they're all the same size. Clearly, they're not, because I can't draw to save my life. But if we take a look at this and we shade this, let's say we shaded 3 out of the 6. Let's say we shaded 3 out of the 6 right there. And for those of my folks, my party people here with OCD, sorry about that. So let's go ahead and ask the question here. Everybody, we see how many out of how many sticks shaded. Let me go and give you guys the chat box back. How many out of how many do you see shaded here? How many out of how many? Give me 2 numbers. Blank out of blank. Give me 2 numbers there. Okay, great. Yeah, a lot of us everybody here is on the same page. That was 3 out of 6. Great. It wasn't hard math to do at all, right? We just had to count. Seems pretty straightforward. I think we can all agree on that, hopefully. Now, let me show you where the simplifying fractions comes into play. Everybody, if I were to come up to you and I said, hey, I have 3 out of 6 of the money that he has. Okay, let's hear that again, because that was kind of awkward, right? I have 3/6 of the money that person has, or I have 3 out of 6 of the money that that person has. Let's kind of think about that there. Doesn't seem that natural to say, right? Doesn't seem like that rolls off the tongue. Doesn't seem like that's understandable if someone were to just walk up to you on the street and just say that. But let's think about a very true, but a much simpler way to say it. Everybody, if I'm saying I have 3 out of 6, what's another way? What out of what? Yeah, half. That's half. Take a look right here. Take a look. Everybody, is it true that if I were to go ahead and draw it like this is pretty much the same thing? Pretty much the same thing here. Is that pretty much the same thing? It is. I just didn't draw the extra lines, right? I still just drew or shaded in the same area, the same space. It's the same space being divided. And so if you take a look here, that's 1 out of 2. And again, I think a lot of us know that 3 out of 6 is the same as 1/2. I think a lot of us intuitively, we know that. But I'm showing the example here with these more simpler examples before we start blowing our brains out with these huge numbers and proportions and ratios that we don't want to deal with, right? We have to understand these basic fundamental facts first. And the basic fundamental fact number 1 is you can simplify fractions. So here, again, instead of saying I have 3 out of 6 of the person's money, I can say I have half as much money as that person. I have half. I have 1/2. I have half as much money as that person does. That's a much more understandable way to say it. And once you actually understand that statement, saying that you have half as much money as somebody else, there's your room to get sad about your financial situation. See, there we go. It makes life more understanding. So with that said, everybody, yes or no, do you get the point here? You can simplify fractions, and all it does is it just talks about it in an easier way. That's it. Just talks about it in an easier way. Instead of saying 3 out of 6, we can simplify it to just say half. Now, how we do that, we're about to get into. How we do that, we're going to have a lot of fun getting in. So here, 3 out of 6, let's go ahead and learn how we can turn 3 out of 6 into that final answer of 1/2. Like, how can we actually make that happen? And here's how. To simplify a fraction, and write this down if you'd like to. To simplify, divide the numerator and denominator by the same number. Divide the numerator, and everybody help me out. The numerator is at the top or the bottom? Quickly, help me out, please. Thank you. The numerator is the top. So divide the numerator, again, the top, and denominator. And then by default, everybody, if the numerator is the top, the denominator is the what? Help me out there. Right, denominator is going to be the bottom. So divide the numerator, or the top, and the denominator, the bottom, by the same number. By the same number. Now, you're going to hear me throw a specific math word around. And this is the easiest way to simplify fractions. So by the same number, by the LCM, or the GCF, excuse me there. GCF, your greatest common factor. If you divide both the top and the bottom by the greatest common factor, and we'll get into that in a moment, but if you can somehow figure out the greatest common factor between those two numbers, and you divide by it, that automatically gives you the simplest version. That automatically brings it all the way down to the simplest version. Question, has anybody here ever heard of the phrase or term GCF, greatest common factor? Have you ever heard of it? Cool. So hopefully it's not going to be too much of an issue where we kind of review it for a little bit, but that's really all we're saying. If you use the GCF, this gives you simplest form. It gives simplest form. Okay, so I'll give you guys a moment to write that down. I want you to really take it in before we go back to this over here and we actually start applying it. Again, if you're feeling like this is just a very rudimentary introduction, we're going to kick it into high gear in about half an hour while we go over these introductions. But again, the main idea is this: when it comes to simplifying fractions, divide the top and the bottom by the same number. That's it. We call it numerator and denominator. To simplify things, to simplify a fraction, divide the top and the bottom by the same number. To get the simplest form, to make it as easy and as simple as possible, he used the greatest common factor. We'll talk about that in a second because and I'll show you, I'll prove to you how it does this every single time. So hopefully I gave you enough time to kind of write things down. Let's go ahead and get into it. So everybody take your attention over there to the 3/6. We're going to turn that into 1/2. Everybody, when you look at 3 and you look at 6, what's a number that you can divide 3 and 6 by? What's a number that you can divide them both by? Yeah, 3. We can divide them both by 3, right? So let's go ahead and try that out right here. Let's try that out. If I divide 3 by 3 and 6 by 3, again, with fractions, whatever you do to the top, you've got to do to the bottom and vice versa. That's why that works. That's why you're allowed to do that, because you're doing the same thing to the top and the bottom. Now, help me out, everybody. 3 divided by 3 is what? Looking at the chat box, looking at the answer. Okay, all set. And then if we do 6 divided by 3, everybody, what's that going to be? What's that going to be? Yeah, 2. And so, yes or no, everybody, do we see how we turned 3 out of 6 into 1/2? So 3/6, how we turned it into 1/2. Do we see how we did that? Okay. And even if this was just a refresher for you, or even if this is something that we still need to kind of continue doing, no worries, because again, the idea is this. We need to know how to simplify fractions if we want to be successful with proportions. One more time. We need to be comfortable with simplifying fractions if we want to be successful with proportions. So this was, again, something that we're going to be doing a lot of throughout all classes, no matter what. So don't worry if you're not feeling too confident with this, because this is just one piece. And they're all separate, which makes it easier to digest. So if you're not quite comfortable with this, don't worry. The word problem side of things are still doable. So with that, let's go ahead now and just try a couple more examples here. I'm going to give you 2 more fractions that I want you to simplify. I'm going to give us just about a minute to just kind of mess around with it. And then we're going to reconvene and then move forward into defining what a proportion actually is. And then we'll get to solving them. So here we go. Let's try these 2 practice problems out right here. Let me give you number 1. I want you to simplify the fraction 15/24. And then I also want you to simplify the following fraction for me. This one's going to be 24/36. So I'll give it just about a minute here. Again, no sweat, no pressure here. Let me just set a casual timer. Try it out. Right there. Just casually pick one of them and try it out. And again, if you're joining us from your phone, I would really recommend turning your phone over sideways. That way you can get more of the screen, okay? If it's small for you, it's probably because of that. And also, if you're joining us on YouTube, you can feel free to go ahead and click the link in the description to join us live. That way, if you're watching us live right now on YouTube, you don't have to worry about any delays. You can just watch us straight up, and then you can get your questions answered in real time. Okay, great. And yeah, feel free to put your answers in the chat box if you'd like to, because the idea is not knowing what the answer is, it's knowing how to get there. So yeah, feel free to share your answers once you have them. Give it about 12 more seconds. And again, just do your best. We're not here to compete right now, at least not yet. You know, we're here to really casually learn. All right, cool. So another 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So let's take a look at this first one here. And again, don't worry if you weren't able to complete it or if you got confused or stuck. I'm here to really help you out. And I want to remind everybody that asking questions is part of the learning process. You know, you're here because you don't know it all in terms of this specific topic. I'm here in the position I am because I know just slightly more in terms of being able to teach it to you. I'm not saying I'm perfect either. Nobody is. I will make mistakes here and there. So remember that the point is not perfection. It's just communicating between teacher and instructor to the point where you are building the most confidence as quickly as possible. So remember, ask questions, okay? If you have them. So with that, let's go ahead and start with this first one here, 15/24. Again, simplifying fractions, Find a number that you can divide the top and the bottom by. Everybody, what's that number for this first one? Is it 5? Can we divide 15 by 5? Yes, we can. But everybody, can we divide 24 by 5? And appreciate you, Cam. Thanks for that. But you can do it. You know you can. Right. You can divide 15 by 5, but you can't divide 24 by 5. So I can't use 5. It's not going to work for both. But what could I divide? What else could I divide 15 by? Yeah, 3. 3 will definitely work. So with that said, yes, we'll go ahead and absolutely see that we can divide it by 3. And then can we divide 24 by 3, everybody? Is that also possible? Is that possible? Yes, sir. Yep, that's going to be 5. 15 divided by 3 is 5. 24 divided by 3 is 8. So we see that, yes, this is simplified and we are good. It's simplified and we're good. Everybody, are we understanding of how we got to 5 out of 8 in this first example? Are we understanding of how we got there? Sweet. Perfect. All right. And again, if you have questions, shout it out. It's all good. Now let's take a look at this next one here. 24 out of 36. This one's going to be a little different. Because everybody, for those of us that were confident with this question, let me ask this question here. For those of us that were confident with this question, when you do something like this, is it possible to divide the top and the bottom by something, but then you have to divide by something else after the fact again? Is it possible for something like this? Yeah, it absolutely is possible. So let me show you what I meant over here. When I zoomed in here and I talked about, hey, greatest common factor, when I talk about this, this is where this comes into play. So if you weren't quite understanding what I was saying and you were like, Coach, what do you mean this GCF nonsense? What are you talking about? I know what GCF is, but why do I have to care about it? Let me go ahead and help you out. So let's start with 24 over 36. Let me go ahead and give you a longer way to do it and then show you how it can be faster with the GCF. So let me go ahead here, take this, make it a little smaller, and then duplicate it down here. My party people, help me out, my brethren. 24 over 36. Can you give me a small number that goes into 24 and 36? 2, right? 2 will work. Okay, let's try that out. 24 divided by 2, 36 divided by 2. Everybody, 24 divided by 2 is going to be what? It's going to be 12. Thank you. Appreciate that. And then 36 divided by 2, that's going to be what, everybody? That's a harder one. 36 divided by 2 is 18. That's right. 18. 18 times 2 is 36. So if you weren't quite confident there, don't worry. Take it as a fact. We have 36 divided by 2 is 18. Now, everybody, here's what we mean by simplest form. Can we reduce those numbers further? Can we reduce those numbers? Yes. So if you can continue reducing, you're not as simple as you can make it. It is not as simple as you can make it. There's still more that you can take out. If you take a look right over here, the divide 2 on top and bottom, you're taking the 2 out of the top and the bottom to make it easier to read, simpler to read. You have 12 over 18. There's still more you can take out. Everybody, when you look at 12 and 18, what's the biggest number that you can take out? What's the biggest? Yeah, the biggest number that you can divide out of the top and the bottom is going to be 6, because 6 times 2 is 12, and then 6 times 3 is 18. So you absolutely can. And so watch me do that here. Divide by 6, divide by 6. 12 divided by 6, that's going to give me 2. 18 divided by 6, that's going to give me 3. Everyone, is that in its most simple form now? Is that in its simplest form now? Is 2/3 generally a pretty understandable fraction or a common fraction? Yeah, it's a very straightforward common fraction that we've seen a lot, and that is in simplest form. There's nothing else you can divide out, and that's going to make it a lot easier to deal with, because remember, everybody, just take a quick pause. When we started class, I asked the majority of you, when you think of proportions, do you typically think cross, multiply, and divide? Listen to what I just said. cross multiply and divide. I'm going to hint at this now. Learning how to simplify fractions makes it so that you have simpler, smaller numbers to cross multiply and divide with. Everybody, what's easier? Cross multiplying and dividing huge numbers or cross multiplying and dividing small numbers? Which one is easier sounding to you? Thank you. I'm glad you guys are paying attention, and I'm glad that you agree. Yes, cross multiplying and dividing smaller numbers, that's the ideal situation. We want that because if you're multiplying, cross multiplying 2 times 3, then dividing by, 3, that's awesome. That's really easy. That's really straightforward. But if you're cross multiplying 18 times 45, then you got to divide by 19. I mean, good luck. Like that's really the moment where you pick up some drywall and you start punching some holes in the wall. And you know where that leads if you've been to my classes before. We don't want the anger management side of things. So with that said, let's go ahead and do this in one shot. This is what the GCF will do. If we take a look at 24 and 36, Marilo, I appreciate that. Yeah, if you look at 24 and 36 and you divide them by what? 12. If you divide the top and the bottom by 12, you give yourself a very, very easy solution. Watch this. I'm going to divide 24 by 12, 36 by 12. Everybody, 24 divided by 12, or 12 goes into 24 how many times? That's going to be 2. Let's take a look at 36 divided by 12. What's that going to be? 3. Look at that. Same answer. Same answer. Much faster. Same answer. Much, much faster. And if we want to take a look at, again, why this works, why the GCF is ultimately the best way to go, here, let me prove it to you, everybody. Everybody, remind me, what did we multiply, or excuse me, what did we divide out of the top and the bottom for that one-shot kill? With this one shot completely done, what did we divide the top and the bottom by? 12. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Follow-up question. Let's take a look up here. When we divided the top and the bottom on the top side, we divided by 2, then we divided by 6. I'm curious, everybody. If you divide by 2, then divide by 6, what's that the same as dividing by? That's the same as dividing by 12. If you multiply by 2 and multiply by 6, that's multiplying by 12. So if you divide by 2 and divide by 6, that's the same as dividing by 12. So you're doing the greatest common factor anyway up top, but you're taking more steps, you're taking more energy, and you're taking more time. We don't want that. That's why knowing the greatest common factor, thinking of it in that way, that's why that's important. And that's why this was something important being taught to you way back in the day, middle, high school, college, whatnot. That's why it's important, because it makes it easier to simplify fractions. Does this make a little more sense to anybody at all out there? Oh, the Zoom's 2 hours long. So we started at 6 and we are done at 8 p.m. Eastern. Okay, just wanted to make sure you knew that. But thank you for the majority of y'all for answering. I love that. Thanks for the feedback. So now here's what we are going to talk about. What we're going to talk about now is, what a proportion is and how to solve it like an absolute madman. Okay, so let me go ahead and go back over here to the example that we had, or the main notes, excuse me. So here's the thing. What we just saw was that, fractions, we can change the way they look by simplifying or reducing them. But the thing is, at the end of the day, when we reduce them, multiple fractions could be the same thing. Like I could have 2 out of 4 and 5 out of 10. Those both would mean half. So here's what a proportion really shows you. A proportion shows you this right here. When you think about a proportion is just 2 fractions that are the same. That's it. That is absolutely it. And so once we get that idea into our heads, proportions are going to be, I'm going to be very honest with you, it's going to almost be scary how easy proportions are, especially if you're someone who might particularly suffer from test anxiety. Especially if you're someone of that nature, this is going to make things a lot easier for you if you understand it in this way, the main ideas, because there's nothing worse than your brain going blank during the test. We want to replace that blank nervousness with strategy, with training, with procedure, with, oh, what's going on, to, oh, okay, this is a proportion problem. Compare the same things in the same way. Compare the same things in the same way. Oh, simplify the fractions. Oh, do this, do that, and solve it. So proportions are two fractions that are the same, or the same parts of the same wholes. This example right here, I'm going to turn this into a proportion for you to show you how the setup works. So let me go ahead and give you 5-10 seconds to just write this part down, because this next page is going to have all of this. But let's read through it before I actually set it up for you. There are 3 red marbles for every 6 blue marbles. If there are 12 red marbles, there are 24 blue marbles. So this is how I would set this proportion up. Let me go to the next slide. Same exact text. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this first sentence here, 3 red marbles for every 6 blue marbles. And I'm going to say 3 compared with 6. Everybody remind me, please. The 3 that I just wrote down, what does that represent? Okay, that was red marbles. Thank you. So we have red up top. And then we have the 6 blue on bottom. This is going to be a very important idea that I want you to really understand. Compare the same things in the same way. We have red 3, and then blue is 6. We're going to compare the same things in the same way. So when I write out the equation on the right side, I need to make sure that red is on top and blue is on bottom. That's all I mean by that. That's all I mean by that. And so when we grab this over here on the right side, we have 12 red marbles. So we'll put 12 for the red. And then we have 24 blue. And so I'll just put 24 for blue. That's all that means. That's all that means. It's really, really, truly all that means. Now, can it get more complicated than that? Yeah, of course. But fundamentally, this is all you got to know. Compare the same things in the same way. That's what a proportion is. 2 fractions that compare the same numbers in the same way. Now, is anybody confused in terms of what I mean by comparison? Give me a yes or a no there. Is anybody here confused on what I mean when I say comparison? Again, be honest. I'm waiting for y'all to be honest. I want to see y'all be honest. Again, if it's not confusing, then no. You know, if it's confusing, then say yes. All I'm asking is it confusing when I say compare? We're comparing. Okay, cool. Appreciate y'all being honest. So with that said, again, I want to make sure that I express this in a way that makes sense in at least one of these 2 ways. So let's think of it like this, everybody. Proportions, you're going to think about proportions and comparisons in terms of the words and in terms of the numbers. So when it comes to the words, when you see that you have red and blue marbles, if you're going red over blue, then just be consistent, red over blue. Not blue over red, not total over red or red over total. If it's red over blue, then you do red over blue. You can't swap them. So that's what I mean when I say comparison in terms of the words. Does that make a little more sense there, my party people? Let me see if that makes a little more sense there. And that's for in terms of the words. Now, in terms of the numbers, this is where a lot of people really find their confidence when it comes to proportions. When I say compare the same things in the same way, what I mean is if the proportion is already set up, if you compare the numbers the same ways, it's going to be true every which way you compare. Let me prove it to you. My party people, watch this. We have 3 over 6 equals 12 over 24. Everybody, when I say compare, I mean with multiplication or division. That's all I mean. Follow along here. This is going to be a lot of fun. Watch this. Everybody, how do I go from 3 to 6? Tell me with multiplication or division and give me the number. How do I go from 3 to 6? Right. A lot of us are saying 2, but give me the operation. Is that multiplication or division? Which one is it? By multiplying by 2. If we're starting from 3 and we're going to 6, yeah, that's going to be multiplying by 2. So let me write that down there. Okay. And everybody, take a look at what we just did. We compared the top to the bottom. Red, then blue. Starting from red, going to blue. Everybody, if I do the same exact comparison on the other side here, from 12 to 24, what's the comparison? Give me the operation and give me the number. What's the comparison there? What's the comparison there? Right, that's going to be multiplying by 2 as well. Okay. So everybody, quick question. Do you see that there is the same comparison happening the same way? From top to bottom on either side, times 2, right? Okay. Is that as crazy as it gets? No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. It can get even crazier. Now, there's something that I want you to really pay attention to. And it's going to be not just top to bottom or bottom to top. It's going to be left to right. You can compare that as well. As long as you're doing it in the same way, you're fine. Everybody watch this. Compare here. How do I go from 3 to 12, everybody? How do I go from 3 to 12? Come on, give me the operation and give me the number. Not just the number. Give me the operation and the number, because I need to know that you know what direction we're going in. Yeah, multiply by 4. From 3 going to 12, that's times 4. Call myself right there. So yeah, multiply by 4. Okay. Now, if we do the same thing on the bottom, so notice what we did. We went from the left side to the right side. If I do the same comparison the same way from the left side to the right side, if I do that, do I get the same result? Everybody, is that true? If I go from 6 to the right, if I multiply by 4, do I get the correct number? Oh, we do. Look at that. Now, here's the thing. Why did I just show you that? Well, if you can compare from top to bottom, like we see with regular fractions, what we can typically do is we can simplify the fraction by dividing the same thing from the top to the bottom. The same thing is true going from left to right. If you're going from left to right and you notice that you can divide out the same number from the tops or the bottoms, whichever way you're going, you can do it. You can absolutely do it, and you can simplify and make things so much easier for you. So I want to take the next few moments to show you what I mean by this and why this is such a really overlooked, it's an overlooked shortcut that if everybody knew, I swear everybody's ASVAB scores would be 5 points higher. So let me go ahead and show you here. So let's go ahead and just show the same problem here. 3 over 6 equals 12 over 24. So let's just go back to this. So watch this. Everyone, we can agree, before I even begin, is it true that this is 3 is half of 6, 12 is half of 24? Both of those fractions are the same thing as 1/2 of 1/2 equals 1/2, right? Those are both the same thing. 1/2 equals 1/2. We already proved it. I know we did, but I want to make sure we have that cemented in our brains before we actually start on this. So watch this. I'm going to simplify from left to right. Everybody, what can I divide out of both 6 and 24? What can I divide out of both of them? Yeah, we can divide 6 out of both of them. If I divide 6 by 6 and 24 by 6, everybody, what am I going to receive now? That's going to be 3. Exactly. That's going to be 1 and 4. So let me go ahead and turn this here. 3 over, 12 over, and let me get the red here, or blue, excuse me. So that's going to be 1, and then 24 divided by 6 is 4. That's where that came from. Everybody, are we in agreement where all that came from? The 1 and the 4, are we in agreement? That's where that came from. Okay, cool. Now, with that said, let me prove to you that that was doable, that was possible. You're allowed to do that. Left to right, you're allowed to do that. And let me show you how this is still going to be true. My party people, what is 12 divided by 4? What is 12 divided by 4? Yeah, that's 3. 3 equals 3. It's still good. It's still true. It's still fine. All we're doing is simplifying the proportion. Notice how we were simplifying fractions earlier? Now I'm teaching you how to simplify the proportion. And Shayna, yeah, I do absolutely record these. These are going to be available online the very next morning. And this one's recorded for YouTube, so it'll be on YouTube as well. But my party people, main question. Yes or no, does it make more sense now than it did before that you can simplify proportions? 1, by simplifying the fractions on either side, or 2, by simplifying left to right. Does that make sense? And even if it's not a full 100% yes so far, when we start getting into this or not a time practice, but the casual practice with the review, y'all are going to be looking at this like, coach, I've been multiplying and dividing my whole life. You're telling me I could have done my taxes by the time I finished that problem? Yes, yes. So with that said, let's go ahead and let's move forward. Right there. And now, and no worries, Drew, we're going to go ahead and get into the basics now of solving proportions, and then we're going to throw everything we learned into it. So let me show you first what we got. So first of all, my party people, let me go ahead and write this down. So let's take a look at this proportion here. 4, let me just make this bigger. 4 over 14 equals 4 over 14 equals 44 over x. So let's go ahead and take a look at this here. My party people, if I take a look at this, I want to try to solve this. And when we learn how to solve proportions, just like I asked you guys in the beginning of class, what's the main way that people have been taught to solve proportions? What's the main way that we've all learned? Right, a lot of us learn the same way of cross multiplying and dividing. So boom, just like that. So with that, I went ahead and shut the chat box down for just a brief moment, because what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and solve this proportion with the way that we've been taught in school. Watch this way. Cross multiply and divide. I'm going to connect 4 and x, cross there, and I'm going to cross the 14 times the 44. So with that said, my party people, quick question. What's 4 times x going to be? Okay, yeah, 4x, that's going to be pretty easy. Sounds good. Okay, everybody, here's a better question. What's 14 times 44? What's that going to be at the top of your head? Yeah, Indy, Deasia, Jonathan, Ron, y'all did that at the top of your heads? It's not going to be 154, I can tell you that right now. Right, that's not gonna be that easy to do. So let's confirm what number that is. So, and I'm gonna do this to prove a point. I'm doing this to prove to you how much faster you can actually be. So if you're looking at me and you're saying, coach, you're taking forever. Yeah, it's because it's supposed to take forever if you do it the normal way. Look at this, 44 times 14. Okay, sounds good. Let's go ahead and multiply here. 4 times 4, that's gonna be 16. Okay, cool. Then we have 4 times 4, that's gonna be 16 again. Carry the 1 is 17. Then we have 4 times 1, that's going to be 4. Then we have 4 times 1, that's going to be 4. Then we add this up. We'll have 6. That's going to be 11. And that's going to be 6. So we have ourselves 616. If you wanted to do that with mental math, that would just be 44 times 10, 44 times 4. Then you add those together. But even with mental math, that's a lot. Even with mental math. So we have 616. Okay, great. Everybody, remember, we were supposed to first cross multiply, which we did. Then it said divide. What are we dividing both sides by to get the answer? What are we dividing both sides by to get the answer here? Right, that's going to be dividing by 4. That's going to be dividing by 4. So that's what it's going to be here. Boom. And with that said, it's going to cross out right there. And now we got to figure out what 616 divided by 4 is. Okay, great, man. Sounds good. Let's go ahead and do that over here now. Okay. 4 going into 616. All right, everybody. 4 goes into 6 how many times? Okay, it's going to be, it's going to be 1. Subtract the 4, you're going to get 2. Bring down that 1. 4 goes into 21 5 times. Man, I'm okay at math. Okay, cool. Then you got the 1. 16 sounds great. You can do this, Anderson. 4 goes into 16 4 times. And we have ourselves 154. Okay. So our final answer is x equals 154. Everybody, did I do the math right there, right? We cross multiplied to get 616. Then we divided by 4 on both sides, and we got the 154. That's good, right? Okay, great. So I'm glad that we are in agreement that this is one way to get it done. Does anybody here wish that there was a faster way to not have to deal with the 616 and not have to deal with dividing to get 154? Or at least making it easier on the head? Yeah, we absolutely can simplify. I think at this point, Jessica, I think everybody who's been in my class before knows that there is a simpler way always. So with that, let's go ahead and learn the faster way. This is what's going to make the biggest difference in the world. So let me copy and paste this right over here. Perfect. So let me go ahead and copy and paste, and let me erase all of this and erase all of that. Goodbye. Cool. And then over here, we will take that away. Okay. So remember earlier how we were over here and we said, hey, we can actually simplify. So over here, when we said we can simplify from top to bottom if we wanted to, we can simplify from left to right if we wanted to. It's really, really, really up to us. Really up to us. So with that, what I'm going to do is really exploit the strategies that are available to me. Everybody, if I take a look over here, if I'm taking a look just the easy way, top to bottom, if I take a look over here, 4 and 14, do they have anything that we can simplify here? 4 and 14? Is there anything I can simplify from that? Okay, great. What can I divide the top and the bottom by? What can I divide them both by? Right, I can divide them both by 2. Watch this. Divide by 2, divide by 2, and what do we end up having? Everybody, 4 divided by 2 ends up becoming 2. Then 14 divided by 2, that ends up becoming 7. And that's going to equal 44 over x. Now, even if we were to do it like this, 44 times 7 is still much easier than 44 times 14. Everybody, is that true? Is 44 times 7 easier than 44 times 14? Yeah, that helps you out a lot, right? And here's an easier way, another thing that you can do. Check this out. Remember, everybody, it wasn't just up and down simplification that we could do. What's the other type of simplification we could do? That's right, Jessica. We can go left to right. We can go left to right. That would have been hilarious if this pencil would have broke. I think we've been there before. Yeah, we can absolutely do left to right. So yeah, that was just an inside joke about 6 classes ago where these aren't cheap either, man. These are like $80 or $100 a piece. It sucks, but whatever. So we can do left to right simplification. We can do 2 and 44. We can absolutely do that. We're allowed to do that, guys. We're allowed to do this. Everybody, 2 and 44 are both divisible by what? Hey, Cam, we're not talking about how many recordings there are out there of me dropping the Apple Pencil. Because the thing is, I have this thing called a warranty that I don't get if they see that I was the one who broke it. So shh. Come on, man. So, all right. So with that, yeah, we can divide them both by 2. I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking. So with that, we can go ahead and divide the top and the bottom by 2, right there. And so with that said, boom, simplified even further. And now you're looking at this and you're saying, yo, hey, everybody, 2 divided by 2, that's 1. Okay, great. And then we still have that 7 that was there before. That 44 divided by 2, that's going to be 22. And then we still got that X on the bottom. Everybody, what's crazy about this now? Everybody, what's going to happen when we cross multiply? What's going to happen? What is awesome that's going to happen when we cross multiply right here? That's right, indeed, you got the answer. Because take a look, everybody. Look, take a look right here. 1 times X, that's just going to be X. And then 7 times 22, that's going to be the answer because X is already by itself. It's already by itself. So then all you got to do is 22 times 7. 2 times 7 is 14. 2 times 7 is 14. Bring back the 1 to get a 5 for 15. 154. So here's what I'm going to propose to everybody from now moving forward. We're going to get a little more serious. But here's what I'm going to propose. Before you cross multiply and divide, every single time that you're going to cross multiply and divide, before doing that, simplify the proportion. And remember, you can simplify up and down, or you can simplify left to right. Either way is fine. But you can only cross multiply. You cannot cross simplify. Notice how I was not looking at this like, oh, hey, we can simplify the 14 and the 44. No, you cannot cross simplify. You can only cross multiply. The simplification is only for up and down or left to right. Everybody, give me a got it in the chat box if you got that. It's right here, simplifying. You can simplify again, up, down, or left, right. Only those 2 ways. You cannot do it any other way. Got it? But that's my recommendation. Again, guys, before you multiply, simplify. Before you solve the proportion, simplify it. And so to prove the point, I now want to go ahead and show you guys a set of examples where I can guarantee you that as each problem goes on, you're going to see and feel more and more comfortable in terms of how to solve these proportions. So let me go ahead and bring this blank page here. This is an AR, or actually both. But this is the MK side of things, like the pure math side of things. But when we get into tomorrow's class, Cam, that's going to transition into the word problems. But if you don't know this first, you're going to have an exceptionally hard time tomorrow. So that's why we're just getting it all out of the way now. That way we can be in a really easy position tomorrow to just crush word problems. Yep. So let me go ahead and come right here. All right. So let me write these problems out for us. So here is our first problem. So here's the first one. It's going to be, let me zoom in. And this first one is going to say 4 over 14, or excuse me, not the same one that was from before. 17 over 5 equals x over 35. So let's go ahead and check this out here, my party people. If we wanted to go ahead and solve this, again, we could just straight up cross multiply and divide. We straight up could. But the problem is, everybody, if we take a look at this in terms of solely cross multiplying and dividing, do we really want to multiply 17 times 35? Do we want to do that, everybody? Is that something that we'll think we'll have fun doing? Nah, man, not really. Not at all. Not at all. And so when we take a look at that, I'm saying, nah, I don't want to do that. If I'm taking the test for real, what do I notice? I noticed that I can go from 5 to 35 if I wanted to. I could go from 5 to 35. Everybody, what can I divide out of 5 and 35? Right, you can divide 5 out of both of them. And if I were to do that, take a look. look at what happens. We now have 17 over 5 divided by 5. Wow, that's hard. 1. And then 35 divided by 5. What's that going to be, everybody? 7. Look at that. We just gave ourselves a much, much easier time. And so by doing that, take a look now. 1 times x, that's going to be x. 17 times 7, not as big as 17 times 35. I can tell you that right now. And so booyah, 17 times 7. 7 times 7 is 49. 1 times 7 is 7. Bring the 4, that's 11. X equals 119. And boom, all done there. So if you're asking about mental math tips, so if you've already gone through my mental math techniques, you would do split and glue. This is only for the people who have been practicing mental math, and everybody should be. But for those of us that are practicing mental math, 17 times 7 is the same as, again, 17. Split that into 10 and 7. 10 times 7, 7 times 7. 70 plus 49, 119. Again, that's with mental math. Split the 17 into 10 and 7. Multiply each by 7 individually, and bring it back. If that didn't make sense to you, don't worry. That was mental math. Don't worry about that. But if you've been practicing mental math, that's what you would do. So with that, another way that you could think about this, everybody, instead of dividing the same thing from the left to right or top to bottom, there's something I noticed here, everybody. One thing I noticed is that there was a very, very, very clean division. And here's what I mean by that. Let me write the same problem out again. 17 over 5, x over 35. My party people, pay attention to this. Everybody, does anybody here notice that we have a clean comparison in terms of if I'm trying to get to x, notice that if I'm trying to get to x specifically, I can get there from the 17 or I can get there from the 35. And what I notice, my party people, is that I can get there if I go from 17 to x, because 5 to 35 is a very clean example. Look at this. Everybody, how do I go from 5 to 35? How do I go from 5 to 35? Times 7. You go from 5 to 35 to do times 7. That's the comparison, right? That's the comparison from the left to the right on the bottom. So the same comparison, the same way, is going to be from the left to the right, but this time up top. And that's the same comparison, times 7. Let me move this down just a little bit here. Times 7. Same exact comparison. And the great thing is, once we do this, 17 times 7, that gives you the same exact answer right away. The 119 right away. Right on, Tamir. Right on, Tamir. And I know Jessica's been really coming after it too here again. I know a lot of us here are really feeling confident about this because I know some of us here have been to the previous proportion classes, and so I'm happy about that. But for those of us that are here for the first time, those of us that are sacrificing their Monday night on someone who you do not know, has this been going well for you so far? Has this been going well for you so far for those of you that are brand new? Aaliyah, exactly. Perfect. Perfect. I'm grateful for you guys. Definitely grateful that you guys are here and learning. So with that said, my party people, let's go ahead now. And I'm going to give you some practice problems here to do. I'm going to give you a good chunk of time. I'm going to review each one at a time. But let me go ahead and just write these down for us. So here are the practice problems. Let me go ahead and make this a little bigger. And we're going to do the following practice. We're going to have, this one's going to be fun. All right, so we're going to have right over here, 8 over x. And then that's going to be 48 over 102. Okay. Then up next, we're going to have ourselves, for the next one, let's try. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. And I'll throw a third one in there. I'll throw it up top over here. This third one is going to be, All right. So go ahead with these three here. I'm going to give us a general timer of about 2 minutes. No, I'll give us 3 minutes here. And remember that it's not about how much time we're taking. It's really just a way for us to say, hey, I'll give you a minute per question, and we're going to get a move on after that amount of time. So let me go ahead and get this timer here and give you the time that you need to practice this. I'm going to answer any questions that you guys have as you're going through. Stephanie, let me see here. So does the left to right work all the time, or is it just special cases? No, Stephanie. So if you notice that you can divide the same number out of both the top and the bottom, or the left and the right sides, like you can do it. If you notice that you can, you can. That's really the trick. You know, it's not something that you have to look for special cases for. You just have to notice that you can simplify them. And that's really it. So with practice, you can definitely instantly look at it. Let me know if that makes sense. All right, perfect. No worries, Stephanie. So again, try these out. Here's 1, 2, and 3 here. I'm going to be right back, my party people. I'm just going to get a quick glass of water, and then we're going to go ahead and get these going. So 2 seconds. I'm going to get my face out of the way. I'll be right back. Okay. So remember, my party people, if at any point you're feeling stuck on this, you can always cross multiply and divide, no problem. You can always do that. That's always going to be an option. But remember that the point is not about getting a problem done correctly on the ASVAB. It's really about getting it done correctly and quickly, because the faster you can get an easy problem done, the more time you have for the harder ones. Yes or no? Does that make sense? The faster you can complete an easy problem, the more time you'll have for the harder ones. Great. I'm glad, guys. I'm absolutely happy that that's how it's going for us. So with that said, let's go ahead here and solve these problems. So it's 10 seconds left. Let me just get rid of that timer. And also in about 10 minutes, we're going to have some timed practice that you'll be able to tackle on your own. So it's going to be a good time there. So first up, there we go. All right, perfect. So we have 8 over x equals 48 over 102. So with that said, my party people, we could cross multiply and divide, or one thing you could have noticed was this. Everyone, how do I go from 8 to 48? Right, you can multiply by 6, but everybody, let me go ahead and show you how you need to think about proportions as, again, comparative. And when I say comparative, I mean with multiplication or division. Because remember, multiplication is the opposite of division. If I multiply by 2, I double something. If I divide by 2, I cut it in half and get right back to where I started. They are opposite operations. The reason that if you're looking at this as times 6, the reason that that won't work is because it'll go from x to 102 as times 6. But you don't know what x is. So because of that, you got to do the reverse, do the other way. Here's what I mean, everybody. What I mean is, instead of thinking about it as times 6 from left to right, notice that you can do divide by 6 from right to left. Does that make sense, everybody? Nothing crazy, right? If you're going from the right to the left, from 48 to the 8, you divide by 6 if you're going from right to left, right? That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. We got to think about it as multiplication and division are literally the same operation, just opposite directions. Multiply, you get bigger typically. Divide, you get smaller. That's it. They're the same operation. And so to get the answer here, we're going to divide 102 by 6. That's how you'll get your answer. And so boom, there you go. If you can think about it that way, then really it's just going to be a little piece of long division. Not really, because if you do 6 going into 102, right here on the side, 6 goes into 10 once. You got 4, 2, and then that'll be 7. So then your x equals 17. And again, my party people, that's a lot better than dividing 816 by 48, because that's what would have happened if you would have gone ahead and cross multiplied. You would have had just hell on earth to pay for. It would have been 48x equals 816. And I'm sure nobody here wants to divide 816 by 48, unless you're into that kind of stuff and you can just keep that to yourself. Everybody, does that make sense? And Flonga, thanks for the comment there. Nice. I'm glad you're seeing that. Again, it's useful. At first, I think we can all admit it's a little scary at first, but then after we get that practice and after we give it a couple more reps, we see that it's possible. Like, it's absolutely possible. And like these tricks make us uncomfortable, but once we're used to them and the methodology behind it, it's yours to use. And that's why I love mental math, man. Like you got to learn these tricks. You got to learn how to give yourself an easier time. Here's the next one. So we have 2 over 3 equals x over 45. Give me 1 second, guys. So we have 2 over 3 equals x over 45. We can check this out, and we might have a much easier time to do this if we know some mental math. If we know some mental math. Everybody take a look. If we want to get to x, the answer, if we want to get to x, we can go either from 2 to x, or we can go from 45 to x. But in either case, when we look at it, the only way to really get there is going to be from the 3 to the 45. Because if you're trying to go from bottom to top, notice that from bottom to top, you can't really go from 3 to 2 in an easy way unless you know your decimals really, really, really well. But you're not going to multiply. You're not going to know that you got to divide that by 3 over 2 or multiply by 2/3. I'm not going to have you guess that. So you can get rid of that entirely and just say, okay, no worries. Not going to do bottom to top. Can we do left to right? Okay, how do I get to x? From 2. Can we go from 3 to 45, everybody? Is there a way to go from 3 to 45? Is there a way? Yeah, what do we multiply by to get from 3 to 45? 15. And so in that case, if we get that down in that way, we can see that we can multiply by 15. And then so we can do 2 times 15. And everybody, what's 15 times 2? 0, boom, 30. And so x equals 30. And we can get that done in a much, much easier way. But honestly, when you look at the problem like this, even if you cross multiplied, you would actually still be okay. Because you would do 2 times 45, which is 90. And then 90 divided by 3, I think we can all agree is pretty simple. 90 divided by 3 is 30. So either way, with this second one, notice that knowing a shortcut method does not mean that you're always using that shortcut method. It's still your responsibility to take a look at it and say, what's the fastest way I could do this? And then go for it. All I'm telling you to do, guaranteed, is take the extra 2 seconds of pause and just observe and make a move. I am not saying take the up and down or left to right and do that every single time. It's not always going to be there. I'm teaching you to use it now so that way when you do recognize it, easy time. But I'm making sure that you know that you have to be responsible in terms of picking and choosing when to use which strategies. Does that make a little more sense, everybody? It's really up to you to pick and choose when you use it. I'm teaching you the strategy and I'm setting you up with it, but it's up to you to notice that you can apply. And Aaliyah, so how do you know when to divide or multiply? So you know when to divide or multiply. Basically, you're just trying to find the variable. So when you're trying to find a path or a way to the variable, you'll see how the arrows kind of line up. So for example, I saw that I can go from 3 to 45 and 2 to x. So I knew that to go from a small number to a big number, you got to multiply. So I knew it would be multiplication. If I went the other way, though, from 45 to 3, that's divide by 15. So if I went this way, it would be dividing by 15. So hopefully that answers your question there. It's really about, going from what number to what number. Yeah, it depends on where the x is. Yeah, it just depends. So let's go into this third one here. The third one here, 1 over x equals 11 over 99. Going into this one, let's get into it. I'll take a look at this and I'll say, hey, 11 and 99 are both divisible by 11, actually. So let's give ourselves an easier time there. Everybody, 11 and 99 are both divisible by what? Right, they're both divisible by 11. Both divisible by 11, so I'll divide by 11, divide by 11. And so that'll give us 1 over x equals 1 over 9. And if we take a look at that, everybody, if it's both ones on top, well then, if on the bottom you have a 9, what do you have to have on the other side? Yeah, you got to have a 9. If it's 1 on tops, whatever's on the bottoms, they got to match up. They got to equal each other. They got to equal each other. And so that'll be 9. And if you don't believe me, cross multiply. 1 times x is x. 1 times 9 is 9. And there you go. That one was a pretty straightforward one. I think we can all agree on that. And we're good. Sweet. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to set up la piste de la résistance. We are going to get some time to practice in. We're going to get some time practice in. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give us 2 minutes per question here. Okay. We're going to get into some timed practice. And how we're going to get through this is, again, 3 questions, 2 minutes apiece. I'm going to write them out live on each page. And I want you to just do your best. We'll go ahead. I'll show you what the answers are. I'll take any questions if you have them. But I want to just present the questions, let you keep going, then present the next question. I want to just keep going and going and going. So with that said, allow me to go ahead and get my questions up here. Okay. Cool. So with that, let me go and grab these. And we are good. Okay. Okay, so here we go. Everybody ready? Perfecto. Let me go ahead and get the timer up. I'm going to increase the time by just 15 seconds so I can give myself enough time to write down all the problems, okay? So here we go. Booyah. Let me write these out for us. All right, and we're good. We're off to the races. There you go. Feel free to type ready when you're ready. Still got 30 seconds left. Still looking pretty good there. And looking at a final 4, 3, 2, and 1. Boom. So how are we feeling so far, everybody? Do we feel like we were able to crush these relatively easily, still getting the hang of it? Was confusing? How are we really feeling about these problems here? Getting the hang of it. Got stuck on 2 of them. Feeling good now thanks to the tricks. Feeling okay. 90 out of 100. So confused still struggling. Need more time. Good. Again, and be honest. Because remember, I don't want you to think about these timers and being timed while you practice as, oh man, if I don't get it done in the timer, I'm not good enough. No, like we're learning from the foundations here. Me using the timer is just to keep the class in line and moving forward. That's all it's for. Okay. It's not for you to feel good or bad about. It's just a way for us to move forward. That's all it is. So I want you to start noticing, what you are confident about and what you really feel like you need to work on. The more that you are self-aware of your issues and challenges and the things you need to overcome, the more likely you are to actually overcome them. Because if you can talk about what you're struggling with, well, then you can probably take the next step in overcoming it. So here we go. Let's take a look at the first one here. Everybody, this first one here is a very straightforward one, simply because if I take a look, hey, if I'm trying to get to X, well, I noticed that I can go from right to left. Because 80 divided by what gives me 8, everybody? 80 divided by what gives me 8? Yeah, it's going to be divided by 10. And so because of that, I can divide by 10, divide by 10. 70 divided by 10 is 7. So your first answer here is X equals 7. X equals 7 for this first one. Who got it right? Who's feeling good about that one? Right? So think about it. Instead of falling for the trap of, hey, let's go ahead and multiply 8 times 70, 560, and then divide by 80, you don't need to do all that. Like, you don't need to do all that. Give yourself an easier time. You are fine. Okay? We're good. Next up, we have the 20 over 12 equals 260 divided by X. So this one, there are a couple different ways you can really do this. There are a few different ways that could give you an easier time. The fastest way to do this one is going to be to simplify, actually. Right, the left and the right over here. Simplifying both of these is actually a much easier time because once you figure out what you can divide out of both of them, you're good. Or you can take a look at it and say, hey, from 20 to 260, I can actually get there in a pretty big step. But even if you don't see it, everybody, even if you don't see it, here's what you can do. Everybody, 20 and 260, they both end in 0. If you have two numbers that end in 0, what are they both divisible by? Two numbers that end in 0 are both divisible by 10. They're both divisible by 10. So watch this. If I cut a 10 out of both of these, just cutting a 10, it doesn't have to be the greatest common factor. It could just be what you notice. If you can cut a 10 out, cut the 10 out. Because what this gives you now is what? 20 divided by 10, that's 2. And then 260 divided by 10, that's 26 over X. Everybody, if you take a look at this now, this might be a lot easier because now you might notice that, hey, if I'm trying to go ahead, and you can still simplify if you wanted to, you could, but it's not necessary. Because what you can do is you can say, hey, my party people, look, if I wanted to go to the answer on this side, I got to figure out the comparison on this side. Everybody, what do I multiply 2 by to get 26? That's a much faster way, ain't it? 13. I can see that 13 now much easier. It's the same 13 that you could have seen up here. That 13 would still work from here to here. That would have worked. But I wasn't going to bet on everybody here seeing that instantaneously if we're having some trouble with division and multiplication. So even if we didn't see it there, here it is here. The 2 to 26, I know we can probably see that. So 2 to 26, boom, times 13. So from 12 to the answer, times 13. Everybody, what's 12 times 13? Yeah, 12 times 12 is 144. Add another 12, 156. Or you can do it like this. You'll see that we have 6. Then 1 times 3 is 3. 2 times 1, 1 times 1, 1, 5, 6. And that can get done in a much, much, much faster way. Yes or no? Making a little more sense there? A little more confidence building up? Good, 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 good. Now let's take care of this third one here. 12 over 15 equals x over 90. This next one here, again, it's really going to be up to you. If you noticed that we can go from 15 to 90 by multiplying by 6, if you did notice that, then you can go from 12 to the answer times 6. If you notice that. But again, if you did not, that's okay. That's okay, because you can still, let me back it out, because that was the absolute fastest way. But what you can do still is this. You can simplify the fraction. The 12 and the 15, you can simplify that. Everybody, 12 and 15 are both divisible by what? Both divisible by 3. So we can divide them both by 3. So again, instead of cross multiplying and doing 12 times 90, we don't need to do that. We can go ahead and give ourselves an easier time, and that'll be 12 divided by 3, that's 4. 15 divided by 3, that's 5. And we still have the x over 90 on the right side. Now from here, if you wanted to just do 4 times 90, then divide by 5, that's a much easier time. Yeah, I invite you to just go ahead and cross multiply at this point. You don't need to try to figure out every single simplification. You just need to make it simple enough. One more time. You don't need to find the all-time maximal simplification every time. You just need to make it simple enough. 4 times 90 is simple enough. Everybody, what is 4 times 90? Yeah, that's going to be 360, because look, 4 times 9, that's 36. 4 times 90, just put a 0 at the end. That's all that means. So 4 times 9 is 36. 4 times 90, 36, 0, 360. So we have that right there. 5 times x, that's going to be 5x. And then here we're just dividing both sides by 5. And that's it. And if you know your mental math, well, what you can do is when you're dividing by 5, what that's going to end up being is dividing by 10, then times in 2, so 72. Or you can do your your long division here. 5 into 36, that's going to be 7. Subtract 35, get the 1. For the 10, 5 goes into 10 2 times. So that'll be x equals 72. Boom. There's your answer there. There's your answer there. All right. Who's ready for the next round here? Oh, someone said bring it. Ooh, yeah. This is where we can bring some tears. No worries, Stephanie. I got you. I'll hold up. I'll absolutely hold up. Take a second. I'll give you guys a couple seconds here. And I think this will be a good time because we still have about 20 minutes in class. So perfect. And for those of you that stuck around long enough who are new to class today and really see yourselves, really getting into this and getting into more classes along with the full program, I would love for you to go ahead and just take this information down here. So that way, again, we can take as much class time as possible actually learning. So I have a couple of deals only for Monday night. And this is probably the last week that I'll do this one. Now that we have the full program up. But I want to go ahead and let everybody know that if you are interested in the program, all you need to do is go ahead and click the link in the chat box. So there it is. I went ahead and put it in the chat box. But there's the link. I put some coupon codes in there for the year membership and the lifetime membership if you are interested in that. So basically, the program gives you literally every avenue that you could possibly think of to succeed on the ASVAB. And we do that by making sure that we listen to y'all. So if you have any questions about how that works, here's my phone number as well. And feel free to take that number down. You can text me directly. I don't accept phone calls. I only use text messaging through that line because it's a shared line. So go ahead and just take that information down. If you are interested in the program, click that link. There's a video up top explaining all of how it works. It's a 2-minute video. It's super short. It shows you exactly how it works. and the whole page is designed to make everything make sense. So if you have any questions at all, there it all is right there in the chat box. Save that link, save the coupon codes depending on which one you want to use. There's also a monthly subscription available. Check that out, check that out, check that out, and come raise your score with me, because I can guarantee you, you will raise your score so long as you are willing to work hard and ask questions. So with that said, I'm gonna go back here and answer some questions here in the chat box. Aaliyah, I'm gonna go over the next ones a little more in depth here for us. And then, yeah, Cam, I was mentioning that in the beginning, you can absolutely multiply by 6. So you can go from 15 to 90 times 6, and that would have absolutely worked, because 12 times 6, 72. That would have worked out exactly right. So with that, I opened up the chat box again, so feel free to leave your comments there. And we're going to go into the next set of 2 minutes here. So let me first write the questions down, and then I'm going to go ahead and start the timer. So over here. Okay. Don't blame me. I am just the messenger. Do not get mad at me. Again, don't get mad at me. Don't get mad at me. I can feel some of y'all's rage. All right, so, okay, then 15 over. Okay, timer is starting now. I know some of y'all are punching air right now. I know some of y'all are punching air, but this is going to make us stronger, I promise. Yeah, so Cam, to answer your question there, if it was 91 instead of 90, yeah, so if it's 91 instead of 90, then in that case, you're not able to simplify first, and you would just go straight into cross multiplying and dividing, just like the people said in the comments. And so then, yeah, Giovanna, if we're confused on those steps, again, remember that the one way that always works is going to be just cross multiplying and dividing. So if you ever get stuck at the beginning, if you're timed, just do the way that you know how. I'm inviting you to do it other ways to help you practice. But ultimately, if you need to just say, okay, I just need to cross multiply and divide, just do it. Totally fine. I see you, Lewis. Hey, you're welcome, man. I got you. All right, cool. So I'll come back in a minute to check in on the problems with us, guys. Good luck. All right, and for my YouTube party people, I'm going ahead and putting the link here in the chat box. So again, the coupon code link, there it is, the program link with the discount codes. Let me just separate that for us, actually, because I think that's, there we go. Let me not spam the chat box. There we go. There's boom. Coupon codes tonight only. And there y'all go. Boom. So those are all the coupon codes in the chat box, my party people, if you're on YouTube. And again, I always want to make sure you're always on the right path, raising your score. So if you have any questions at all, also in the chat box, you'll see my phone number, 567-698-8867. Okay. Text Coach Anderson right there. If you have any questions at all about that, I got you guys' back. So let's get back to the action here, my party people, and let's have fun. All right, and we are back, my party people. So with that said, on a scale of 1 to 10, with this set of questions, how are we feeling about this set of questions? How are we feeling about this set, guys? Feeling like it was hard, feeling like it was a 7, feeling dead. So the thing is, remember, what did I say? What did I say? It is not, oh, you're going to learn this technique and it's always going to be applicable. We can't think of it that way. We've got to be ready to do what we need to do. We've got to be ready to do what we need to do. And sometimes it may not be pretty, right? May not be pretty. So we're going to look at the most sensible ways to do some of these, but also with practice and more practice, you will give yourself the opportunity to be able to do this in a much faster way. So let's get into the party here. Let's have some fun. Starting off with the first one. So let me just move all of this over here. And let's take care of this first one. So who here, for this first one, who here straight up cross multiplied and divided? Anybody? Who here straight up cross multiplied and divided? Okay, so what I mean by straight up cross multiply and divide, I mean this. You go x times 255, 17 times 300, and so you would get 255x equals 300 times 17, which ended up becoming 5100 with some mental math. And then from there, you got to divide both sides by 255. And obviously, that's going to be a vomit-inducing swirl of numbers. And you're probably looking at that like, nah, I'm good. I agree. So there's that. That would have been a little difficult, right? Would have been a little difficult. But you know what's a little easier? What's a little easier is we can actually give ourselves the chance of this. Everyone, what do you notice about 300 and 255? What do you notice? What do you notice? That's right, Jessica. You can divide them both by 5. You can give yourself that opportunity. So knowing that they're both divisible by 5 gives you that chance straight up, nice and easy. And you can go ahead and say, okay, great. If I divide them each by 5, I can give myself an easier proportion. So watch this, x over 17. Everybody, what's 300 divided by 5? You can just take 30 divided by 5 and then put the 0 back at the end, right? Yeah. 30 divided by 5 is 6. So 300 divided by 5 is 60. And then 255 divided by 5. This is actually not as hard as you might think, actually, because a lot of people might think that, 255 divided by 5, that's a lot. No, you can split the 255 into 250 and 5. 250 divided by 5 is just 50. And then 5 divided by 5 is 1. 50 and 1 makes 51. If you know your mental math, that should make a lot of sense there. You can also break 255 up into 255. 200 divided by 5, 40. 55 divided by 5, 11. 40 plus 11, 51. Either way, you can still get there. Either way, you can get there. But again, when you do the division, 255 divided by 5, no matter what, you're still going to get 51. Okay, so now that we're here, lastly, this is where things, you give yourself a good chance here. Because not only are you dealing with easier numbers, it might make it a little easier to see another connection. My party people, is it true that 17 can go into 51? It is, but we need to think about which way we're going, because if we're going from this way to this way, that's not exactly what we need. We're trying to get to x, not go away from x. We're trying to get to x. So you might need to go from right to left. Everybody, how do I go from 15 to 17, 51 to 17? How do I go from 51 to 17? Right, we have to divide because we're going from a big number to a smaller number. And because of that, we will divide. Divide by 3. And so now that we have that, we have a nice, easy position to be in. Everybody, 60 divided by 3 is what? 20. 20, 20, 20. So even if we had a hard time on this one, everybody, does it make sense, the techniques that we kind of used here? Do the techniques make sense? Simplify where you can. Give yourself these little advantages. You've got to just play the small game. Play the small game. Give yourself the best chance possible. So one more time, yes or no? Are we getting a little more out of this, again, with this practice, with these bigger numbers? Oh, for sure. You can get the same answer. You could have done it 17 different ways. It's truly going to be up to you to choose the way that you're comfortable with. So is that Karima? Yeah, Karima. Yeah, again, it's awesome the way that it works because it does give you that flexibility to choose the way that you want. So I'm glad. I'm glad you have it done a different way. Let's take a look at this next one here. Let's move this over here. Let's get x over 9 equals 98 over 126. All right, everybody. Ask yourself, do you want to divide 9 or 9? Do you want to multiply 9 times 98 and then divide by 126? Like, no, you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that at all. So with that said, here's the first thing I'm going to notice. Everybody, to keep things easy. Now, my first question is not going to be, yo, can 9 and 126 be divided by the same number? No, 126, like, don't worry about answering that question. 126 with 9, if you're not used to dealing with those two numbers, then don't worry about it. Here's the easier way to think about it. Much easier way is, hey, everybody, 98 and 126 are both even numbers. What is true about any pair of even numbers? Everybody, what's true about any pair of even numbers? You can divide any pair of even numbers by what? Exactly. You can always divide them by 2. Everybody, what does the word even mean? Even means the same number on one side as the other. Divide by 2. 2 groups. That's what even means. If it's an even number, it's divisible by 2. So with that said, divide that by 2, divide that by 2. Do give yourself an easier time because now you'll have x over 9, 98 divided by 2. Everybody hit me. What's that going to be? You've got to know some of your math for this. But what's 98 divided by 2? 49 right there. You've got to be able to do quick, simple math like that. Multiplying any number by 2, dividing any number by 2 should be relatively easy when it comes to learning your mental math. You want to make that easy because you'll give yourself the chance here. Up next, 126 divided by 2, everybody. Well, that's the same thing as 120 plus 6. 120 divided by 2 is 60. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 60 and 3 makes 63. Now you may be thinking, Coach, 49 and 63 are still massive numbers. Yeah, but guess what we just unlocked right here? If we're trying to get to x, again, we can go left to right or top to bottom. Obviously, top to bottom isn't going to work out very well for us. But if I notice over here, left to right, 63 can get to 9. How do I go from 63 to 9? Divide by 7. And so if I do the same thing up top, divide by 7, 49 divided by 7, that's 7. And there we go. And there we go. So again, it's not about making it instantaneous. It's about picking up on the little advantages to do it faster than you would have done it the straightforward way. Give yourself more time for the harder problems. That's what this has always been about. Let's get on to the next one here. Let's get on to the next one. 15 over x equals 165 over 44. You take a look at this one, everybody. Is this one giving you a headache or no? How are you feeling about this one? My eyes are. That's a good thing. Trust me, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Because trust me, when you open your eyes up tomorrow, yeah, Leah, we are. So Whitney noticed that we can divide by 11. I love seeing that. Now let's take a good look at this. If I'm taking a look here, 15, 165, 44. One way that we could do it again is a straight version is 15 times 44, but then dividing by 165 is not going to be the funnest thing. So if I take a look at this, actually, there's a way that we can get this done. One, we can try to simplify. The other way, actually, we can take a look at this. 15 and 165. Everybody, both of these numbers end in 5s. So if they both end in 5s, they're both divisible by what? Right there, 5, right there. So what you could do is you could straight up just say, you know what, let me just simplify, divide the top and the bottom by 5. You could do that. You could absolutely do that. And if you did do that, what you would notice is this. Everybody, 165 divided by 5. 5 goes into 16 3 times. Then 15 again. 5 goes into 15 3 times. And you notice that you give yourself a chance here as 15 divided by 5 is 3 over x equals 165 divided by 5 is 33 over 44. Oh, now we might see that we are dividing by 11. If we divide by 11, we give ourselves that chance, and we have x equals 44 divided by 11, and that's 4. You could do that, but if you notice, let me actually show you here. The 165 is actually 15 times 11. One thing that you could have noticed in the beginning, again, with experience, I'm not saying you should have to every time, but what I'm saying is you could notice that 165 is the same thing as 150 plus 15. And if you're dividing, 150 divides down to 10. 150 divided by 15 is 10. 15 divided by 15 is 1. 10 and 1 is 11. And with mental math, you might be able to see that it's a relationship of a division by 11. To go right to left is divide by 11. And you can get straight to the answer. Straight to the answer with, again, an elevated level of mental math. X equals 4. Excuse me there. Yeah, you're right. I think I wrote 4 twice, just being speedy. Appreciate that, Whitney. But with that said, notice, again, we all did these problems different ways. So remember, the idea is not memorize one method like cross, multiply, and divide and just do it every single time. Like, that's not the point of this. The point of this is to show you that you have a bunch of different tools in your tool belt, and depending on what you see in front of you, one tool or one mental math trick might be more suitable than the other in that situation. So with that said, everybody, how are we feeling? Was this worth it in terms of the introduction to solving proportions for us? I love that comment that you made right there. Who was that? Jaylene, thank you for that comment. I love this comment. Everybody pays attention to this one. I enjoy how I feel at the end of class versus the beginning. It's encouraging. That's exactly why we do this. I love hearing you say that. And I love that you guys are saying that you need more practice. Like, that's awesome. Like, I love that you're saying you need more practice, because now it's not a matter of, I don't understand this. No, it's, I get it, but I need to put myself in more practice to really, really, really make it confidence. That's really it. So I'm glad that y'all are, this is awesome. This is awesome. Let's go. So with that said, for those of you that are here right now, live on YouTube and on Zoom, this class is actually going to be available right now on YouTube. It's recorded right now. And by the time I shut this down, you can play it back and you can watch it on YouTube. So if you're going to be joining us tomorrow, if you're in the program, bam, you can watch that instantaneously right now. You don't have to wait for the recording tomorrow morning. You can do that right now on YouTube. So please make sure you subscribe to the channel. But also, let's make sure that we have a path forward here. Boom. So for those of you that are, again, in the program tomorrow, 6 p.m., same time, we're now going to start diving into proportion word problems. So now we're not going to, we're still going to be focusing on solving it and getting that practice, but now we're going to be mixing in setting up the proportions. How do you know where to put the X? How do you know where to put the other numbers? How do you know that you're correct in the setup? Because once I teach you how to set it up the right way, we're going to use what we learned today, and we're going to show how it's a complete process from start to finish. Reading the word problem, setting it up, and solving. It's going to be a much, much more peaceful and calm process. So with that said, I'm in the program Forever Coach with the lifetime. tried to get rid of me. Well, congratulations on registering for the lifetime. Jessica, congrats. So again, if you're in the program, feel free to leave. I'll see you tomorrow. For those of you that are here and you're interested in the program, I'm going to briefly give you guys some information. For health reasons, I do need to step away rather early tonight, but I am going to briefly explain what you do get in the program and why it's a great idea for you to sign up. So one more time, my party people here, let me grab this link for you. Again, I am running a nice little deal here for the year and the lifetime. And the monthly subscription is still very affordable. It's always been affordable. Monthly, other people are charging like $200 a month for their services. I actually only charge $60 a month right now. So I just wanted to go ahead and throw that out there. But there's the link for you in the chat box. And I want to go over everything here for you. So if you came to class today, and if you're saying that you have test anxiety sometimes, thinking about the test makes you nervous, makes you do worse. If you feel like you blank on word problems every now and then or frequently, if you feel like you're often put in a position where you're guessing and hoping for the best, where you have like 2 minutes left, 10 questions, and you got to guess, and that's frustrating to you. And if you're also feeling like you're kind of going through this alone, if you're feeling like you're answering even somewhat yes to any of these, well, then getting outside help really isn't a bad idea. It really isn't. Having a personable coach who can walk you through step by step is something that is really advantageous, especially in this day and age where it's all internet and you're all alone and you have no other help. Getting someone by your side, that's a huge advantage. So if you felt like this session improved your chances of passing, if you felt like more of this could work for you, or if you feel like you just wish someone had your back until you passed, then yeah, this is absolutely going to work for you. So the proof is, I can tell you guys to search up Duran Learning on Google. If you would like to, go out and do that right now. Go on Google, type Duran Learning, and just click on the reviews. See it for yourself. These are hundreds of my students who have been through the program and left a review. Of the thousands who have taken the program and passed, I want them to be the proof that this works. There's no gimmick here. There's no crazy sales pitch. It's I line up the material for you. All you have to do is sit down and get to work. And if you want to feel that way, if you want to feel like the effort that you give is what you get back, then this program is for you. But if you're right now feeling like you're putting in a ton of effort, but then you got to relearn everything and redo everything, and you're getting frustrated by that, again, that's not the position you want to be in. And that's what the program solves for you. So with the program, like I said, you're going to have access to over 400 recordings, over 12 classes a month, 24 hours of recordings every month. On top of that, courses for the arithmetic reasoning, math knowledge, word knowledge, paragraph comprehension, general science, and math basics, which we just added, along with progress books to make sure you're tracking your progress all the way through so we can physically tell you when you're ready to take the test. And you can text me whenever you need help. I'm in office Monday through Friday, and I make sure that your questions are answered all the way through. So that's really it, everybody. There's no gimmicks. It's literally 4 years of hard work, and we're going to continue improving the course and the program until every single person can use this and pass like nothing. And we're pretty close already. So with that said, to sign up, the easiest way to do so is just following those steps. I'll put the link right there in the chat box again for those of you on YouTube and Zoom. And so there you go. Boom, right there. And there you go. Perfect. And so with that said, my party people, again, it's as simple as signing up and raising your score with me. And if you have any questions at all, please feel free to shoot me a text before you buy. If you're curious, if you have questions or any doubts, 567-698-8867. If you have any doubts at all, just shoot me a text. I got you. But tonight only, if you are sure that this is going to work for you and you're really happy about this, then go ahead and sign up for the year or the lifetime using those codes to get a massive discount on those. I put it in the chat box, but for the year 150, all caps. For the lifetime, it's LT200, all caps as well. The subscription is $60 a month every month, and you can cancel whenever. There is no contract, no nothing like that. Just study as long as you need, and cancel when you're done. And that's it. So with that said, my party people, again, I'm happy you guys came. But really, at the end of the day, what this is all about is just avoiding test anxiety, making sure that you're not spending too much, and making sure that you're not retaking the ASVAB. Because at the end of the day, health, wealth, and relationships really matter. And so here, get a reliable resource. And there's more than one resource. I'll be your resource. The program will be your resource. Coach Sheen is there for you as well. All the recordings, all the guided practice, everything is there lined up for you. And it's affordable, and I can guarantee you'll get a higher score. So with that said, my party people, again, you can scan there to go directly to it, and you can use the code YEAR150 for 150 off, or LT200 for 200 off of the lifetime deal. So with that said, again, I am sorry that we have to retake it, but we can look at it as an opportunity to make a lot of progress until the next time we go in. And if you're taking your test pretty soon, I definitely recommend just considering, am I ready to take the test? Am I confident that I'll pass? If it's not 100% yes, even if you don't buy the program, don't go take the test if you're not ready. I'm not trying to say that you have to get my program. What I am saying is you shouldn't take the test if you're not ready. Flat out. Yeah, so I have another question here in private. So again, like I said, you don't have to, there's no contract for the monthly subscription. Pay month to month, cancel whenever. It's that simple. Yeah. And then the year and the lifetime, those are one-time payments. You do not, those are not subscriptions. Right on, Giovanna. And Giovanna, go ahead and text me. Let's catch up. Let's understand, what progress you made over the weekend, and we'll continue pointing you in the right direction. I got you. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing from you. Again, things happen, but we just have to make sure that we're willing to make the mistakes to move forward. I got you, Cam. So, and yeah, Cam, I was talking to you earlier. So, Cam, short for Cameron, right? Gotcha. Yeah, welcome in, Cam. So you're starting off on the math basics right now. So you've been doing a great job so far. I mean, in terms of just like following my direction and getting the program checklist squared away. So I know you're going to do well given the time. And just remember, it's not instantaneous. It's a process. And this is not going to sprinkle magic dust on you, but it's going to feel like it sometimes. But you just have to be willing to put in the time and put in the effort. And I can promise you, if you continue listening to me like you are right now and taking the right steps, I can guarantee you that within a week, you'll be looking at some things that you were anxious about, like fractions or decimals, and you'll turn right around and you'll be like, Coach, I can't believe I was anxious about that before. And that's a pretty consistent opinion that I get. I'm not saying that as like, it's pretty consistent. So Cam, go to the program checklist again, part 3, starting on math, get started on the math basics, catch up with me tomorrow, or text me as soon as you finish your first speed drill. The moment you finish your first speed drill, I want to celebrate with you, and then keep it going the right way. Oh, great question, Cam. Yeah, so I'm going to actually put this link in the chat box for you. So your question was, thank you, sir. How often should I be studying a night to not overdo it on myself? And the thing is, everybody's different, but it's not about how much time you spend studying. It's about the process that you undergo. So for example, Cam and everybody listening, think of learning like this. A lot of people suffer from learning fatigue or learning burnout or study burnout. And the thing is, here's what happens. You're spending too much energy for what you're learning. And when you keep doing that over and over and over again, spending more energy than you're getting in, you're going to get fatigued. And so the reason that happens is because a lot of people tend to focus on multiple things at the same time. So you tell me if this sounds familiar in the past for you or currently now. If you catch yourself studying math, then going to word knowledge, then going back to math, then maybe some general science, then back to math, then going to general science, then English. Well, what's happening is you're spending that energy transitioning from one topic to the next without truly confirming that you learned what you learned. An easy example to think of is cleaning your house. If you need to clean the kitchen, the living room, and your bedroom, and you just wash one dish, then you go to the living room and you pick up one piece of trash, then you go to the bedroom and you fold one shirt, then you go to the kitchen and do one more dish, then you go to the living room and do one more piece of trash, you're going to get burned out so fast, right? All that energy you're taking, going back and forth, when what you should be doing is staying in the kitchen until it's done. Stay in the living room until it's done. Stay in the bedroom until it's done. When you do it that way, you give yourself the opportunity to spend as little energy as possible for the maximum result. And so that's my recommendation. And so the video that I want to send to you, Cam, is this one. It's one of my first videos on YouTube, actually, and it's about how to study the right way, how to learn. 5 steps to learning. And so here it is. There you go, right there. Oh, I'll send it to everybody here. It's going to be right here for everybody, the 5 steps to learning. That's for everybody here in the Zoom chat. And I'll also just throw it in there in the YouTube chat, and then I'll answer your question as well. Okay, great. And so then from there, going back to the chat, the number again, Giovanna? Yeah, so Giovanna, my number is 567 698 8867. So yeah, when you're working through that, let me know, communicate with me. I love hearing about the successes, and I'm here to help you throughout the struggles. Like, I got your back. So please communicate with me. You know I got you. You know I'm here to help. Yeah, I'm glad, Cam. I'm glad. Again, put in the effort. It'll be returned tenfold. And I told myself I was only going to stay 5 minutes past class, and here I am. That's because I love what I do so much. So with that said, everybody, you guys stay awesome. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drop the link one more time in the Zoom chat for you. I want you to go ahead and consider the program. I saw that the 3, 4, 5, 6, the 7 of you that just signed up in the past 10 minutes here. Great job signing up. You guys use the coupon codes properly. Everything's all good. So perfect. Just make sure to read your confirmation email and confirmation text. Just check your email and phone number. Make sure to read through that and make it as easy as possible to get started. You just have to make sure that you follow the steps that I put forth. It's very simple, very easy to follow, but also very easy to ignore if you're not the kind of person that wants to stay consistent. So take my number down, reach out to me, say hey, coach, I got the program. Looking forward to success. And from right there, we'll be texting back and forth. I will never let your text be the last text. I will always text you last. That way, it's always on you to just say, hey, how's it going? That way, we're always communicating. Yeah, Michael. Michael, are you the same Michael that just signed up last week? Because I don't think I saw your last name. Yeah, because you didn't include your last name when you're signed up. So I'll go ahead and include your last name now in your profile. But congrats on signing up. And follow the math basics. Your mental math is all Unit 1, Unit 2, Unit 3, Unit 4. Those 4 units in the math basics, all mental math. And I promise you, once you're done with that, you're going to be looking at those big numbers and you're going to be like, it's the same as the small numbers, just one extra step. So start right there with the math basics. You've already completed Units 1 and Units 2, so great job there. So then Units 3 and 4, that's what's up next for you. Let me triple check here. Michael C. Oh, wait, actually. Oh, no, Michael, excuse me. I confused you for another Michael because I actually had 3 Michaels sign up in the past week. So, Michael, go to the math basics. Go to the program checklist, math basics. I'm going to type that into the chat box right here for you. I gotcha. Perfect, right there. Boom. So, Michael, go right here, okay? Open this link that I just sent you privately. That's the program checklist. That's the same page you saw after you signed up. Click that link. Watch the video that's at the top, the first section. It shows you how to navigate through everything. And just make sure you follow the steps there. Section 3, math basics, and you're good to go. And boom, yep, that is good. Perfect. Hey, you're welcome. Absolutely, you're welcome. You know I got your back. So with that said, my party people, you guys stay awesome. I am logging off for the evening. Again, I got to take care of myself. And remember that we have a class tomorrow at 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So get ready for an awesome class. And also tomorrow at 10 a.m., I will be announcing something else as well. So you guys stay awesome, be easy, and I will see you in tomorrow's class, guys. Love you all.